Hi everybody, it's Julie. Welcome back to part 2 of the Paper Gems video tutorial. Now in part 1 we went through the general instructions. It was an overview of how to measure and cut and assemble the paper gemstones, but I wanted to talk a little bit about what to do with the larger ones when you're using 12 by 12 paper, because I screwed up a couple of mine before I figured this out. And I don't want you to screw up yours. So pay attention to the instructions. It's going to be really important that you keep that instruction guide handy when you're, especially when you're doing the larger 12 by 12 inch paper. So I'm going to score my 12 by 12 inch paper at 4 inches apart. And then I'm going to fold that lower left corner just like I did on the smaller size gemstones that I made. I'm also going to line it up on side A just like the smaller ones. And I'm going to go ahead and do my first diagonal lines on side A of the tool. And it's possible, you're going to run out of room there because the 12 by 12 inch paper is going to hang off the edge there. So you may need to lift the tool and the paper and slide them further down the board. Just line up those major score marks, the 1 inch increments. Just make sure they're in alignment with the ones on the scoreboard, and that will help you greatly. And then you can finish getting your score lines. And then you're going to flip the tool over. You're going to flip to side B. You're going to take that little folded corner and rotate it 120 degrees. Now, it's important on some of the templates on the 12 by 12 paper, you are not going to go up to that super sharp corner there and start your score line. You're going to find where those two lines intersect. And it's kind of like a crosshair, and that's where you're going to do your side B score line. And this is just on a few of the 12 by 12 inch templates. So you'll notice that I'm creating my first B side score line by using the crosshairs there to figure out where I need to line it up. And then I'll measure out 4 inches from that first score line on each side of it to get the rest of the score lines. And the reason for that is if you score in that super tight corner there like we did on side A, you're going to end up being off. And I'm not sure why that is. It's a mathematical thing. It makes my brain hurt when I think about it, but I just made a note on my template and I highlighted those areas in my little instruction guide so that I would know that I needed to be careful on some of those different templates. And then when you're done, you're going to find that not all of your score lines made it all the way to the end of the paper because, the 12 by 12 inch paper is going to hang off the end. So in order to make sure you're extending all those crease lines or fold lines, just go ahead and fold the paper on them and just use your bone folder to crease the lines all the way. And that way it'll complete all those fold lines. Then you'll have all your triangle shapes and you can go in and use the template. And like I said, you have to watch out for that folded corner on the right-hand side to make sure that you're tracing on the back or what's going to be the inside of your gemstone. And then we're going to go ahead and cut it out really quickly. And then I'm just going to use double-sided sticky tape here. This is the Be Creative tape, and I thought this would be perfect for putting together this particular box because it's a lot bigger and it'll be a nice strong bond. So we'll just go ahead and start assembling the flaps to those solid sides there. So I'm going to get the first two done on this particular shape. I can't remember what this one's called, but I can't even pronounce the names of most of these. But I noticed when I got to the last two flaps, the easiest thing to do was to partially fold back the adhesive liner papers. So I'm just going to fold them back partially. And this is going to allow those little liner papers to kind of stick out, and it will give me something that I can actually get a hold of. So at this point, I'm going to take the two flaps and insert them simultaneously. And with that little bit of adhesive exposed there, I can kind of tack it into place. And then I can go ahead and grab the little tails and pull that out and separate that away. And then I can go ahead and burnish along those edges there, and that will seal them shut. And I found that this was the easiest way to get those two sides closed at the same time. And this is a really big box. I mean, you could put a muffin inside that thing. I was like, man, that's big. And then I thought it would be fun to make a garland. So I did a whole bunch of different shapes in different colors of paper and had those at the ready. I had them all scored and cut, trimmed out. I had the adhesive tape put there on the flaps. And then the booklet actually mentioned it's a lot easier to string these up if you do the assembly around the string instead of trying to thread them onto a string after you've already put them all together, assembled them completely. So I believe that would be really hard, especially with the big ones. So I decided to try it this way as per the instructions. I actually read the instructions a couple times to make sure I was doing it right. But this got to be very therapeutic, and it was a little bit tricky at first having to deal with that cord in the middle. But then once I kind of found my method, the process started to speed up quite a bit, and I just had to find my groove and the easiest way of keeping that cord right there in the middle as I assembled everything. And then I was watching a TV show and I was cruising, and my son the next day, he was like, wow, you really put a lot of these together. And I was like, yeah, it was actually kind of fun. So once I got it all finished, I realized that having them on the string like this, I could slide them up and down. So if I wanted to add more gemstones or put different shapes, I could separate them and create more spacing or gap to create more variety. And I actually did, you know, the next day I added a couple more different colors there in between those spots. So you can see that there on the finished paper gem garland. So I hope this gave you some ideas, and thanks for watching.